over the next hour, we will look at how waste to energy can support the Middle East and North Africa region to enable it to diversify its energy sources, to reduce its carbon footprint, and to stimulate and promote circular economic principles and practices in the region. So, very, very important topic. Now, I'd like to introduce our panelists. I'm delighted to be joined by Mohammed Quraishi. Now, Mohammed is the Chief Executive of Energy at BIA, which, for those of you who know about waste to energy, will know that BIA is in Sharjah. It's based in Sharjah in the UAE and is absolutely spearheading the region's development into the waste to energy sector. So welcome, Mohammed. I'm delighted to have you with us today. Thank you very much for your time. We are joined by Jimmy Morgan, who is the Chief Operating Officer for Babcock and Wilcox. And Jimmy's joining us from the US. So I have no idea what time it is with you, Jimmy, just now, but it must be very early. So thank you very much for being with us. And Babcock and Wilcox, of course, is one of the sponsors for the MENA Power and Water Summit over the next 2 days. So thank you also for that. It's fantastic to be able to work with you. Jimmy, what time is it where you are now?
It is a little after 3 a.m.
Well, thank you. That could be more antisocial, so thank you. Now, we also have Sheikh Mohammed Al-Harthy, who is the Executive Vice President for Strategic Development in Oman for the Oman Environmental Services Holding Company in Oman. Mohammed will be joining us at some point later. So thank you to him in advance, and thank you to Mohammed Quraishi and Jimmy Morgan also. Mohammed Quraishi, if I can come to you first. So you're the Chief Executive Officer for Energy at BIA in Sharjah. Now, I've already mentioned BIA is really pioneering waste to energy in the region. Tell us a little about what BIA is doing at the moment and what your future plans are.
BIA is established in Sharjah, and it is basically started as a waste management company, and it is slowly diversified into the various things. And today, we are constructing a first waste-to-energy project in the Middle East and Gulf region. And we will be commissioning the plant shortly, maybe by commissioning starts by end of this year, by December, and then we will go for full life by mid of 2022, full production. So it generates 30 megawatts power, and then it is also it reduces the carbon footprint as well as the waste gases and other things. Also, our main aim is to go zero waste to landfill. That's our main aim. So today we are sending almost 500,000 tons of waste to landfill, and then shortly when we commission it out, one more line it will reduce it out to completely zero waste to landfill. Today our recovery we have a large metal recovery facilities, material recovery facilities, which recovers it almost 76% of this one, and only 24% is going to the waste to energy, which is a non-recyclable material.
So if I can just, sorry to interrupt, so the primary motivation for BIA with waste to energy, it's not about necessarily electricity generation. It's about landfill, stopping waste going to landfill. That's the sort of driver for this.
Yes. So we want to achieve the zero waste to landfill by end of another 2 years. We want to finish it out, and then there will not be any waste going to the landfill except the minor or the ashes that comes out from the waste to energy.
Yeah.
We'll bury it out. That's the only thing our aim is.
And is that after sort of the experiences you've had in the initial years of this project? Is that a realistic ambition that nothing will go to landfill, or have we learned new things? There are certain things that have to go to landfill.
Still, in UAE, we can say that fly ash is considered as a hazardous waste, and it has to go to the landfill only. And then there is also other waste, other very kind of waste which we don't burn it out, like sewage and other things. Because BR does it out everything holistically, all the waste, whatever the type, whatever is there, we will get it out of the waste. Okay, and then we process it out, all that waste.
So the model that you have chosen for your project at the moment, that includes everything: the waste collection, the sifting, and then obviously the power generation,
yes,
as well. And so that is the whole model. I know that in other markets, and I think Mohammed from Oman, if he's able to join us, they've got alternative models where they've separated the waste management from the electricity generation. Will you in future, will that be the model that you follow, or what have you learned about that, the way the structure is set up?
We receive almost 1 million waste, actually 1 million tons of waste. Out of that is the construction waste and demolition waste, and we have other waste, actually tires, other things. We process everything. We have different units to process it out, all kinds of waste. Okay, so we are processing it out, and then only the waste which we cannot do, recycle it out, is going to the waste to energy plant, which is around approximately 300 to 400,000 tons annually. So that is being supplied to the waste to energy, and because we want to generate the energy, because it has energy, it has plastic, it has some kind of paper, and it has some kind of rubber or whatever that is there, and which we wanted to generate the waste energy.
Okay, now one of the trends that we are seeing around the world, I suppose, is using private finance to develop power and water projects.
Yeah.
And those models are quite sophisticated, and they relate to electricity generation and fees charged for provision. You have described a different driver, the landfill, the removing waste to landfill driver. Does that make this a difficult model for, and of course, we haven't talked about the efficiency levels of waste as a fuel. Does it make this model difficult for private investors in the conventional sense, in terms of returns on investment? Or do you think this is something that we can see more private sector involvement in?
We can see it out. Let me tell it to you, our partners for this waste energy is Mazda.
Yeah.
Who is a clean energy company. We are 50% partners in this project. And this is purely project-based finance basis. We secure the full finance from the banks and then initiate it out. There is only the company, the liquidity, equity, and other things are only available from the developers.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Sorry, Mohammed, I cut you off there. Say that again.
It is possible to do it out by private financing on this project.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mohammed Quraishi. So if you have questions about BIA or about waste to energy, some of the lessons from BIA's experiences in Sharjah, please use the tab on the right-hand side of your screen, the comments tab, to send in your questions, and we will put them to Mohammed and to Jimmy and the other Mohammed when he arrives as we go through the conversation. So thank you, Mohammed, for those comments. I'm going to go now to Jimmy Morgan, Chief Operating Officer for Babcock and Wilcox. Thank you, Jimmy, for being with us today. Tell us a little bit about Babcock and Wilcox, firstly, and particularly about your experiences in the Middle East in waste to energy, because this is a very early stage sector in the region. There's not a lot of experience with it, apart from BIA that we've talked about. Tell us first about Babcock and Wilcox, and then we can go on to the market.
Yeah, sure. So we're mainly around the world in three segments today: industrial, thermal, and renewable, and or environmental, thermal, and renewable. Renewables are our sector that does the waste energy. We also are in solar now and a bunch of other renewables. But we have our technologies in about 500 waste energy plants around the globe and counting. So I'm really a big fan of waste energy. Methane is really bad for the environment. So if we're going to get serious about carbon reduction, we have to get serious about methane reduction. So waste energy, it just makes sense, right? You're getting rid of a waste stream, and you're also at the same time generating power. And the other great thing about this renewable is it can operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, where you need the sun to shine and the wind to blow for solar and wind to work. So we're into the Middle East region now. We're looking at waste energy. We have sent our qualifications in for an upcoming project in the Middle East. So we're active in the region and looking forward to moving it along. You know, it's picking up the pace, as you heard from Mohammed, and there's other regions like the UK, which is very well developed now and continuing to develop, that we're active in as well. So you kind of see the differences around the globe as you migrate around the world. You know, China was a little bit slow to adopt, but now China is building these waste energy plants faster than anyone would have ever imagined. So it's big in Asia now and getting bigger. It's big in Europe.
In China, just on that point, is it similar to the situation that Mohammed described, where the issue is one of landfill? It's not about diversification of energy or about investment, return on investment. It's about landfill and methane. The toxic output from landfills. Is that correct in China? Is that what the driver is?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's the waste stream is there, and it does help them diversify a little bit. So I think it's a combination of the two. But for sure, you know, they want to do something with that waste stream, and they're building these plants, as you would imagine, right outside of some of the larger cities in China. So you're going to see that continue, and they're huge plants. So there's Shenzhen, which Mohammed and I were talking about before the conference or before this panel began, which is now currently the world's largest waste energy plant. But I think within 24 months, China will build a new one that's going to surpass that one. So
right.
It's just a matter of time.
And in the Middle East, then, so we've talked about Sharjah, and the UAE, as always, is kind of at the leading edge of these things. But outside of the UAE, what does the Middle East market look like to you in terms of investment in waste to energy and ambition? You know, Egypt, massive population, massive congestion in Cairo, for example. There must be potential there. Saudi Arabia, massive cities also. You know, where do you see the business opportunities and, of course, the investment patterns?
Yeah, you're spot on. We see Egypt has got to do something to address the issue, and they've got plenty of waste stream to do that. So Saudi Arabia, as you said, I think you'll see each region in the Middle East will heavily consider waste energy as, you know, in the mix, and also to get rid of the waste stream. So as we talked about, which is becoming, you know, mandated in certain parts of the world, other parts of the world not so much. So in Europe, a lot of the regions are, you know, essentially have banned no landfills. So you've got to build waste energy. So I think as that regulation applies to more and more locations, we're going to see waste energy become more and more popular and more mainstream in the future.
And I'm aware that with waste to energy, it's not so simple in terms of electricity generation and efficiency of generation. It's not so simple as in, well, certainly with gas and oil, but also with solar. You've got different grades of waste and different sort of efficiency of burning and things like that. So what does it, and maybe this isn't an area that you look at, but what does it look like as an investment proposition? If I'm a private investor or an energy investor, and I've got ESG, environmental, social, and governance sort of parameters to fit, waste to energy seems like a good idea. But is it attractive commercially, generally, and how much sort of does that waste collection and filtering sort of dilute the commercial benefits?
Yeah.
Can I answer it now, Sheikh?
Yeah, sure, Mohammed. Sure, come in. Sorry.
you cannot say that this is basically waste to energy is an environmental project, not an energy generation primarily project. Actually, what I said to you. So you have to consider it as an environment project, and then what are the environment benefits that are coming from this project? We cannot just.
The investors don't think like. I mean, I agree with you philosophically that it's the focus on the environment is absolutely the priority. Yes. But many investors, they might say these things, but ultimately it's about ROI, isn't it? Or am I being cynical?
I agree with you. ROI is very important for that, but still, you can produce it out. We are now doing it out as a project basis. We have collected the funds from the banks, and then we are operating it out. We are returning the funds actually. In 20 years' time, yes, definitely. The period could be longer than what we get it out in a 10 years period or ROI period, like our solar 5 years period. No, this could be a longer period, but still it is achievable. It is still, you can target it out to do it out, with the private finance.
Okay, thank you. You're setting me straight on my question. I guess I'm slightly obsessing on the business focus because what I'm thinking of is, a lot of the audience will be interested in business opportunities, so where the money is coming from and who's investing. So that's what's sort of in my mind. Okay, we've got a few questions that have come in. Let's take a few questions from the audience, and if you do want to put questions to Mohammed or Jimmy about waste to energy, please use this opportunity. We're very lucky to have them with us today, and hopefully we will have Mohammed Al-Harthy from Oman Environmental Services Holding Company shortly. Now, there's two questions from Anup that have come in, and I'll put this to you, Mohammed. Okay. Are there similar projects in the pipeline for other Emirates like Abu Dhabi or in the Northern Emirates? And Anup says Dubai is already constructing a waste-to-energy plant at Warsan. So, Mohammed, I don't know if you are able to comment on the wider UAE market. What are you aware of in terms of other projects?
Abu Dhabi project is recently announced. They are issuing it out RFQs, and they are qualifying it to contract the developers. So it is going to be there over a period of, we'll hear it out about that in a couple of months. Actually, we know what is the status at Abu Dhabi, how we are moving forward. With regarding to Northern Emirates, there was a project announced there. They think we worked it out, but at Northern Emirates, Ministry of Environmental and Climate Change, they were handling it out. Now that project is converted into a biogas plant and this type of thing. Actually, they removed it out from the waste to energy direct incineration plant. It is no more incineration plant. Okay.
Anup, who asked the question just now about other UAE waste to energy plants, he's also asked about medical waste. With the pandemic, he says, yes, there was a lot of medical waste. What is the plan for medical waste and I guess other forms of hazardous waste? How do you deal with that in BIA?
We have a division to handle the medical waste. It's mandatory in Sharjah that all medical waste has to be handed over to that division department, and then they do it. Wakaya, and then they do the process it out. They do it out. They have a mobile, smaller incineration plant, as well as they do is the waste this thing, and then they burn it out.
Okay, thank you very much. Mohammed Al-Harthy, can you hear me? I can see you've got your microphone on mute. I can see.
Yes, I can hear you, Richard.
Welcome. It's brilliant. So we've been hearing from Mohammed Quraishi, the Chief Executive of Energy at BIA in Sharjah. And we've also been hearing from Jimmy Morgan, who's the Chief Operating Officer at Babcock and Wilcox. And we've been talking about the development of waste to energy across the region and looking at Sharjah in some detail. So, Mohammed Al-Harthy, you are the Executive Vice President for Strategic Development at the Oman Environmental Services Holding Company. Tell us about the situation in Oman. Is waste to energy important in Oman? How many plants do you have, and what are your investment plans?
Oh, very good. Thank you, Richard. First of all, let me just introduce Oman Environmental Services Holding Company briefly. In short, the company name is BIA. which stands for environment. It's a government, wholly owned government company in charge of waste management across Oman as a whole. So we're in charge of all sorts of waste streams, municipal solid waste, hazardous waste, healthcare waste, all sorts of waste streams. Waste to energy is extremely important for us because it is the core pillar of our diversion strategy. We intend to divert 80% of our waste by 2030. Mainly, it's going to go into a large facility we're planning for. It's going to be just outside the outskirts of Muscat, the capital. We the size is almost 4,500 tons per day. So we have very, very high hopes that this plant will help us in diverting waste away from landfills.
Hello, have we lost you? Mohammed, can
Yeah,
you?
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, sorry, I thought you froze there. And what are what is the status of this plant outside Muscat and any future other plants?
Okay, see, we faced many challenges, like most of our neighbors. Yeah, I think we have visited many countries, and every country has its own set of challenges. Some countries would face challenges where people do not want to have this in their backyard. Some will have some regulatory or legal challenges. Here, it's mostly regulatory. The thing is, with electricity in Oman, it's highly regulated. And the idea to convince the regulator to move from your conventional gas-powered plants into something new, whether it is the renewables in general or waste to energy, which is part of an alternative energy, was a big challenge for us. The idea is that
surely the job is not to convince the regulator. Just enforces regulations. It's the policymakers who don't they tell the regulator what to do.
That's another challenge by itself. Okay, see, we're working with policymakers right now to set clear policies in terms of diversion, and this is the challenge we faced last 7 years or so. Working with the policymaker, working with the regulator, working not only with our own regulator, but the regulator of electricity regulator as well. We have come a long way. The other challenge we face here in the GCC or Arab countries, the fact that the understanding with many of these government officials that waste has value, and therefore we shouldn't be paying anybody to take our waste and treat it, and it should be the other way around. We were giving them waste, so it is wealth, and they have to pay us for that waste. So the idea that we not only that we have to pay higher tariffs for electricity, but we also have to pay a gate fee was nothing that they could accept. It has changed right now. We see more and more of these facilities coming up in the Gulf. Qatar probably started early on a few years back. Now we see plants coming up in Sharjah, in Dubai, and Kuwait also in one stage or another. And we are very close as well to work on floating the tender for our facility. Hopefully, if not this quarter, next quarter.
So we were hearing from Mohammed Quraishi at BIA in Sharjah earlier on about the model that they have there, where the waste management, the waste collection, and the filtering and separation of waste is done as part of the electricity, waste to energy generation side as well. Is that the same model that you will be using in your projects in Oman, or are you doing it differently?
See, our mandate is to go throughout the whole chain. That's our mandate. So we start with the pre-collection, collection, transportation, and then currently to landfilling, and then we move into diversion by means of waste to energy, biogas, and all of these projects that we have in the plants. So it is our mandate. However, our focus wouldn't be, we wouldn't focus heavily on the segregation at source and sorting, because it comes at a cost. It is a fact. People don't like to hear this, but it comes at a cost. It is a costly affair, and it is a question whether we are ready to pay that cost or not. We are piloting some projects in Oman. We are committed to continue with these pilots, to try them out here and there. But I don't think this will be the way forward. We already have a sorting facility in Oman. We have some neighborhoods where we're segregating waste at source, and so far it hasn't proven very efficient or effective model. So I think we still have a long way until we do very well in this particular area. And therefore, this is where waste to energy came as a solution. If we are to move fast, as low-hanging fruit, we can go quickly with waste to energy and divert that waste away from landfills.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Mohammed. And again, it's great to have you. I'm delighted that you were able to overcome the technical problems. Thank you for your perseverance.
Thank you. I hope we don't face same technical problems with the waste to energy as well.
Well, life's full of challenges. There are also opportunities, aren't they? So,
always.
If I can come back to Mohammed Quraishi, we have a question here, Mohammed, from Wasim. So Wasim says UAE. Well, he's touching on the UAE is moving ahead with waste to energy projects, and you've previously mentioned or commented on these. What Wasim is asking about is the future for BIA and waste to energy in the region. How do you see BIA developing what it's done so far, both within Sharjah and then perhaps internationally?
Yes. Richard, BIA is now pioneered the first project, waste to energy project, and they have built it out. They have experienced ups and downs, and they will learn the lessons. And these lessons, we definitely use it out to improve our quality. Definitely, we will be participating in Abu Dhabi project, where we are planning to participate in Oman projects, which was announced actually as Mohammed Al-Harthy.
Well, we have to be careful because we have BIA Sharjah and BIA Oman. If you are in Oman, how do we know which one is which?
We understand it out. Both are BIAs, same name. And then my name is Mohammed Quraishi and Mohammed Al-Harthy. We share also our names.
It will be confusion, chaos. So you're looking at Oman what as an investor or as a consultant?
As a plant developer there.
Okay. And is this goes back to the question about investment, I guess. Is that because it's part of the landfill strategy?
We have to see the investment plans from BIA Oman and what they want to do, how they want to do it, or financial of the project, and then we have to plan it out our finance. If we require, we will also put it out, because my partner is Mazda. You know it out. We have two partners actually in this.
If I can put you on the spot and maybe put Mohammed on the spot at the same time. Now, obviously, this is theoretical, but what would you like to see as a developer and as an investor? So you're looking at a market, in this case, Oman, and you said it depends on the conditions of the contract. What sort of things would you like to see as a developer being offered?
What is their share? What will be their share? Whether they will put it out 50%, 60%, how do they will come into this organization? And then based on that, how much we get it out, what is the ROI we are going to develop it on this project, and then how does it going to be, how many years operation? All these things are there. There are many financial models we have to do it out and to come to that.
And if I can now go to Mohammed Al-Harthy, and from the Oman side, when Oman is trying to attract investment and developers to come in, are these the sort of questions that causing problems, or at least the challenges you have to overcome? What sort of inquiries are you having, and what feedback have you got?
Thank you, Richard. I think Mohammed has to account for your royalty as well as a middleman in this, since you're trying to join us together right now with this project.
My fees are very reasonable.
Okay, good. This has been accounted for, but our model is a little different in Oman. As a government company, we don't intend to compete with the private sector. It's going to be based on PPP, or in this case, it's called IPP, and it's going to be totally out for the developers to bring in their own consortium, and they have to do their own feasibility studies. We have done ours. We've done several feasibility studies, and that's why we have learned also from the experience of our neighbors in Dubai as well. One thing we did to make this more feasible for us is to extend the concession period from 25 years or 20 years previously to, we're looking at 35 years right now. So this will bring the numbers down. We increased the quantities. We started long back with 2,100. We are talking of 4,500 right now. So it's more than double already. So all of these were done for one reason, to bring the cost down for the government in terms of the tipping fees that we're going to end up paying. The challenge right now is for us to fix the tariffs, electricity tariffs, and there are discussions between us and the authority. Once we have that done, then we will be ready to float the tender pre-qualification. Whoever is gonna compete in this project has to demonstrate track record with references in other countries as well. We would like to see that you have efficient plans that have been running for a while, and of course, commercials have to be competitive.
Excellent. Well, thank you both for your openness on that. I think these are very important details that people are interested to hear about. So thank you. Jimmy, if I can come back to you, we have a question from Mahmoud, and it's about sort of the cost effectiveness of waste to energy in the Middle East. So Jimmy, Mahmoud's question is, how much is it cost effective compared with other renewable power rates? In the Middle East, Mahmoud says, the source of waste has less calories compared to the US or the EU. So I don't know if you're in a position to answer this question, Jimmy, but I'm trying to sort of get that regional sense of where we sit.
Yeah, so it's got to be from a mix of the tipping fees, as you heard from Mohammed, as well as the electricity generation. So and the waste throughput. So the CV value of the waste could be a little less, but if you got a lot of waste that you can consume, you can make up for a lot of that. So that's kind of the key as you migrate around the globe, is what is the economics, as you said, Richard, earlier, to make these happen. In Europe, for example, especially the UK as an example, 80% of the revenue is driven from tipping fees. So the whole financial model is built off tipping fees. Not so much in other places. It's the power purchase agreement price that you get for each megawatt or kilowatt of electricity that's generated. So as you kind of migrate yourself around the world, it's different in each region. It can be a combination of those two, or sometimes it can be a credit for carbon reduction, or for some other environmental. Same thing.
It's interesting. I mean, there's clearly it's not a simple equation to the purpose of these projects and also the commercial elements, and there are many factors.
You're correct.
It's a very interesting sector in that regard. I have a question here from Krishna, and this is for Mohammed Quraishi. Now, Mohammed, you talked earlier about ash. So what are your views on mixing fly ash with cement and also in road building to reduce what goes to landfills? I don't know if that's an area that you have looked at. And then there's a second question from Krishna, which is, are you also looking at PPP for delivering waste to energy projects? So perhaps if we can look at the first part first, the use of fly ash in materials such as cement, is that something you get involved with?
I will answer it. Okay. Fly ash, use of fly ash in road building, everything is possible. But unfortunately, in UAE, use of fly ash is banned. It was considered as a this thing hazardous, and then it has to be buried in the ground.
Okay.
So because of that, we are not using it. But bottom ash, other ash, whatever that is there, we will definitely use it out for the road building and as a filling material. I think you can use it out, that material.
Okay.
That's the one.
And the second question from Krishna was, are you looking at PPP for delivering waste to energy projects? So I guess this relates to what you said earlier about you're looking at Oman. So do you anticipate more PPP waste to energy projects in the UAE or in Sharjah?
Basically, BI is a PPP model.
Yeah.
We operate in a PPP model, and we are purely PPP company, actually. So we have no problem working in a PPP model, any project, if it is any partner who want to join it or any PPP.
And I have one more question for you, Mohammed. I'm sorry that you're getting all of you're getting all of the questions at the moment, so thank you for doing this. Do you know if the Saudi waste-to-energy sector has been regulated?
Right now, Saudi waste-to-energy is not regulated. Saudi waste is getting regulated. We are operating in Medina, city Medina, as a waste collection and then waste segregation company. Actually, right now they have no idea for the waste to energy or anything. Actually. Maybe later on we may get it out regulation if they want to do it out. So we expect it out in future. Yes.
Thank you. And Mohammed Al-Harthy in Oman, what is the regulatory situation covering waste to energy? Is it established, or is it a bit like Mohammed just described in Saudi, that the waste side is regulated but not the waste to energy side?
Currently, the whole waste sector, including all the environmental sector as a whole, is regulated by what we call the Environmental Authority in Oman. However, we are in discussions right now with the government to set new policies, and as a result, we may be looking at probably another regulator stepping in to look into more in the economical side of this business. So there's no such thing as a regulator for waste to energy. It is the waste sector as a whole. So we'll have to see how this new discussion would go. As a result, we will have a new policy. We hope that next year we'll have a policy for waste management. And we may have also, of course, as a result, a new legal framework. With the new policy, we could see specific targets for diversion. The 80% I mentioned is a self-imposed target by BIA itself. So we see that being a national target by next year, hopefully. And with that, we may be also specific on what projects we want to go with. That said, however, the waste to energy projects are part of what we call Oman Vision 2040. So we have a program called Oman Vision 2040, and these particular projects are very well mentioned in this vision, being something that we have to achieve by 2025. We have to tender it out, and 2030 we have the facility in place.
Okay, thank you. Now, Jimmy, if I can come to you, how do you see this sector developing? So we have COP26 currently underway in Glasgow, and Saudi Arabia has recently announced its a net zero target by 2060. UAE has a net zero target by 2050, and I presume that COP26 is going to encourage more of those kind of announcements. Do you see waste to energy being and the reduction of landfill? Do you see this being one of the outcomes from COP26, an acceleration of policies around this sector?
Yeah, good question, Richard. It definitely will be talked about. Will that be one of the biggest ones that comes from that? I don't know. I mean, the big push, of course, is going to be the fossil fuel plant reduction. I think that's target one during this meeting in Glasgow. But if we could get, some kind of mandate globally on methane reduction, which is worse than carbon, it will rapidly advance waste energy around the globe. So we'll see. I mean, that is on some of their agendas. Whether it makes it to the top, I don't know. I mean, the biggest focus, of course, is going to be as fast as possible reducing fossil fuel power production. I think that'll be the keynote message that will be presented. But hopefully this makes it in for the discussion, and we have a driver that pushes it even faster. So that would be very beneficial for the whole segment around the world.
Okay. And from a technology point of view, is waste to energy something that works better at scale? So where you have, we talked earlier about Cairo, for example, massive city. And in fact, you talked about the Chinese cities with the large landfills. Do you need a certain scale of landfill or waste production as well as energy conversion to make this work? Or can can we get down to domestic level waste to energy? You talk about rooftop solar panels and things. What are the sort of technology trends?
Yeah, another good question, Richard. You do need some scale, and as you heard from both Mohammed and Mohammed, you need, as you get larger, the cost come down. So that's the benefit of having even more scale, is if you can put 5 lines together at one location, that's going to drive the cost down versus trying to build 5 separate facilities. So I think it's a mix. And then you do have, so certain parts of the world are set up for using these waste energy for district heating. Now that's an entirely different model. So there's certain locations that don't care at all about power production. And we're building a couple of those. Greenland, it's all for district heating. There's another one in Norway. It'll be 100% used for district heating. But that makes sense for them because it's very available. They've already got the network of heating. Most of the locations, though, are going to go build these for power production, which does, you put it in the mix, it makes a lot of sense. If you put in a renewable portfolio, let's say, for example, if you had some wind, some solar, and waste energy, the waste energy can act like a battery storage or battery backup because it operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I think you're starting to see that happen. I think that's something else that's going to help waste energy as they retire the old fossil fuel plants. What are you going to do with that site location that fossil fuel plant was on, right? So it sets up to be perfect. It's already got a switch yard, so it further reduces your cost to build the plants, right? So switch yard's already available. You can throw in now some solar, a waste energy plant. If you have access or there's wind, you could have wind as well, and you could create a renewable park concept. I think that's going to be something that's definitely going to be evaluated as we go forward, because you're going to have the land available once you take down these old fossil fuel plants. So the land's available. It's already got grid access. Makes it very simple to put in different kinds of renewable energy sources.
So I guess I take from what you're saying is that we're sort of a little bit at the beginning of a journey with waste to energy, and in fact the whole energy transition journey, I guess you're talking about. So you can see quite a lot of different directions that we don't know about yet, that we might be going down in the next few years.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what regulation comes out, and then, what happens if, for example, in this Glasgow meeting, if they do agree in the EU, for example, there's some talk about mandating all fossil fuel go away by 2025. Whether that's feasible or not, can you do it that fast? Don't know, but you've got to replace that power production with something. So I think it's going to present some opportunities to further advance waste energy as we go forward.
Now, we've been talking about waste to energy, and my assumption has been that we're talking about burning the waste itself and converting it to energy. But you also mentioned about methane. One of the problems with landfill is methane, and we can use the methane for energy, can't we, as well? Is that, that's probably a smaller scale, isn't it? Is that a technology that we should be talking about?
Yeah, you see that a lot in certain parts of the world. You have small little plants that'll take the methane from a landfill and convert it and use it for energy. So, yeah, I think for sure on the existing landfills that are out there, you can capture some of that methane that's being produced and use it for energy as well, and put that into the mix. That's definitely, it's already a proven technology that's out there.
That's actually a question I wanted to ask Mohammed Quraishi. So we have the new waste collection to feed into the waste to energy plant. Are you also using the old landfill sites? Do you go and excavate those, or are they too dangerous to sort of dig out?
Actually, we have planned already to float a tender for the landfill solar plant. It's approximately 120 megawatts. we'll generate it out in the landfill, what we have it out.
So that would be a solar plant on a landfill site?
Landfill, yes, closed landfill.
And so there's no question of excavating out the old landfill?
We are collecting also the landfill gas through pipelines, and that will be used it out to supply the power, additional power energy to our solar power waste to energy plant. Okay. So we are planning to use it out both ways.
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood. So it's a solar-powered waste-to-energy plant. So when you said a solar...
we have a solar plant, and then the gas which is there in the waste landfill, we will collect the gas and supply to the waste-to-energy plant.
Okay, very good. And is that sounds quite innovative? Is that new technology, or is that something that...
It's being used actually, because some places the waste-to-energy gets it out of the land, additional gas and other things from the various sources. So we will use it out the methane gas to do that. Okay.
And did I hear you say that you will be issuing a tender for that? Do you have any timeline?
Yes, the tender we have appointed a consultant, almost appointing a consultant for the solar landfill, and this includes it out this thing. And then we are just waiting it out for the government clearances approvals. Once we get it an approval, we'll go ahead and then issue the tenders.
Fantastic. Well, good luck with that one. Thank you. Mohammed Al-Harthy, what is the strategy in Oman for existing landfill? I mean, we've talked about new waste collection. What are you doing with the old landfills? Can you do anything?
Sure. See, the utilizing methane coming out of landfills should never be the aim. But while you're landfilling, because it is a phase that we have to go through, we might as well make use out of the methane that's coming out of these landfills. We have in total 11 landfills in Oman. We manage 11 landfills. And if you look at landfills, usually you have cells. So once you close one cell, you move to a new cell and so on. We already are capping two different cells in two different locations. We're capping those cells, and installing a sort of a methane to electricity units there to make use out of the methane that's there and converting it into electricity. So that's something that is happening right now in two different cells. And we intend to do the same depending on the methane level and all of that. But that is something we need to, as we move to the next era of waste to energy, recycling and all of that, we see more and more of the waste not going to landfills. So this is something temporary with the existing landfills. It shouldn't be there in the future as we move. In terms of other forms of waste to energy, waste to energy is wide. I mean, it could be waste to energy in the conventional approach of thermally treating waste, whether it is combustion or gasification or plasma, whatever it is, and converting it into electricity, or utilizing methane that comes out of landfills, or even you can mine old landfills and generate what we call refuse-derived fuel by sorting that waste and biologically treating it. And then you utilize that either in cement factories and the rotary kilns that they use, or in waste-to-energy plants. Or you could use things like what we're starting here in Oman. For example, we're using right now what we call tire-derived fuel, where we cut tires into certain sizes with certain specifications and sending them out to cement factories to be used as fuel. We are also looking at moving our organic waste to bio waste plants. So this is anaerobic digestion sort of a thing, and this is another form of waste energy. Well, however you can recover, you can either recover material or energy out of waste. So these are different forms of utilizing energy that's contained within the waste.
So you have. It sounds like there are many paths being explored at the moment. Are you able to give us a sort of brief summary of any upcoming tenders or projects, whether it's for consultancy or projects themselves? I think I've lost you. Can you hear me,
We'll start. I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. On my screen, you froze briefly there. So I was just asking about tenders. Anything coming down the pipeline?
Yeah. I was I was going through them. For example, we already have 2 facilities converting cooking oil into biodiesel. We have 2 tenders coming out very soon, 2 or 3 tenders for biogas plants. These are much smaller in scale than the other waste to energy plant that I was talking to you about. We're just waiting for the we are to
Okay, I don't know if
lost
that's
you, but I don't know if you can hear me. And
you,
Mohammed is starting to supply the connection. I'm not sure. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, but I don't know if it's me or if it's you. But if you carry on talking, and I'll jump in.
Good. Well, my wife says always it's me, it's not her. So I would take it for this one as well. Okay. So in Q1 of next year, we're starting also to supply cement factory here with tire drive fuel. So we have different stages. Some are in the pipeline to be tendered, and some are already being established.
Okay, thank you. Now we've come to the end of our time. I can't believe it's gone so quickly. Jimmy, if I can finish with you. So Babcock and Wilcox, you're sitting in the US, you're looking at the world for opportunities in renewables and in this conversation, waste to energy. What is as a sort of an American company looking for these opportunities, what does the Middle East look like to you? Is it, small and behind the curve in terms of waste to energy, or is this huge potential and actually you think this region is going to expand quite a lot in this area?
Yeah, I think it's a big potential going forward. So you've heard the 2040 plan. The Saudi has a 2030 plan. Egypt is currently evaluating waste energy, like we talked about, Richard. So we see it as a big potential going forward into the future for the Middle East. So, they're ramping up pretty quickly. Okay,
excellent. Well, that's a positive note to finish on. We've reached the end of our allotted time. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Mohammed Quraishi, Chief Executive of Energy at BIA in Sharjah, thank you for your time. Jimmy Morgan, Chief Operating Officer from Babcock and Wilcox, who is with us at 3 o'clock in the morning, US time. Thank you very much for that. That's, I think, above and beyond. So thank you for that. And Mohammed Al-Harthy, Executive Vice President for Strategic Development at Oman Environmental Services Holding Company, also BIA. Thank you for your perseverance with the technology issues, and it's fantastic to have had all 3 of you with us today. I wish you every success going forward in these endeavours. It's a very, very important topic and initiative. And thank you very much to you, the audience, for joining us today. If you want to follow up on any of these topics, please don't hesitate to get in touch with MEED, and we will put you in touch with the panelists and we can push this agenda forward. So thank you again, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
See you.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.